trading, knowledge is power, and lack of knowledge in what you're doing can be costly, very costly. So you need a solid foundation of quality market education. Whether you're new to trading or a seasoned veteran looking to add advanced strategies to your arsenal, there's always something to learn and something to improve on. And now you can access the same knowledge that professional traders receive with Market Rebellion's Trading Education. I'm Bill Johnson, Head of Options Education here at Market Rebellion, and we've assembled a comprehensive curriculum based on decades of real trading experience, covering everything you need to know about trading options from beginner to advanced. We go way beyond the nuts and bolts of options theory to teach you how to apply specific trading strategies and the techniques needed to adapt your trades when markets shift. Regardless of your goals, you'll gain access to the education you need with easy-to-consume lessons so you can learn to trade with confidence, enhance your knowledge, and master the practical skills required for market success. So please join us for in-depth trading education only from Market Rebellion.
And we're back. Welcome to all of our market rebels and YouTubers out there. And Stu, it's that time again. I can't believe it's Thursday already.
Hey, time flies when you're having fun, my friend.
It does. And there's nothing more fun than trading butterflies. At least that's what you've been telling me that a lot of your
bro, you got to get out more. That's the more what fun you're having. You got to get out
from a trading standpoint, I guess.
I got you. Okay.
But you've said that you've had a number of people asking about butterflies and trading them. And what we have found, though, is we were just talking about this the other day in Q&A, that a lot of traders still think the whole idea of options, or even any kind of trading for that matter, is always about what you think. And you've got to be super careful, especially with butterflies. It's not what you think. It's really about relative pricing discrepancies. That's really the reason that the strategy was developed. It wasn't just because you think the stock is sitting still. And as we want to show you, depending on which side of the trade you're on, you might actually lock yourself into a loss, even though you could be correct about what you think. And so it's a big problem that a lot of traders have. They just want to place these trades because they see the shape of the risk graph and say, oh, that's what.
Yeah, absolutely true. Not to mention, what to do with it once you have it on and the stock starts moving around. It's a whole separate story. But
lots to do with trading a butterfly. They're not as easy as they might seem. Partly because you got 3 strikes to deal with. You got lots of different.
Not terribly difficult once you understand.
Once you understand them, right?
Yeah.
Right, but you do have 3
what we're
different pieces
to do today, right, Bill? We're going to talk about it.
We're going to do that. We're going to talk about that. Right, so let's start off with our chalk talk, like we always do. And for anybody who's new, this is a little thought question. We'll talk about it at the end of the presentation here. But let's say that we're looking at 3 consecutive strikes. I've got the 95, 100, 105. These are all done from a pricing model. Right. So the point being that the prices are reasonably in line with what they would be in a real market. So we've got the 95 call at 510, the 100 call at 320, and the 105 call at $1.20. So now again, retail traders will say, oh, I think the stock is going to sit still. Let me do the 95, 100, 105 butterfly. And what we're going to find out is that might not be such a hot deal, depending on which side of the trade you're on. Or maybe it is. And that's the question. Is there anything wrong with these prices?
Are you looking for an answer?
No. I have a feeling I know you know what the answer is, but I just want everybody out there to at least think about that. And if you can't look at this, pick me. If you can't look at these and immediately tell that there's something wrong, and more importantly, where the problem is, then this is exactly why you need coaching and why your trading results are probably not what you thought, because trading is not about, oh, I think the stock is going to sit still. The butterfly is about a very special pricing relationship, and that's what we're going to look at.
Yeah, keep that in mind as we go through this. This is about the relative pricing, and that means the pricing of one versus the pricing another versus the pricing of the other.
Correct. We're going to take a look at this. Now, I thought would be kind of a nice little analogy. I don't know what made me think about this. We were talking about it the other day. Maybe that's what spurred my mind. But a lot of you have seen the movie A Beautiful Mind about John Nash. Anybody who's ever had economics certainly has heard the name John Nash, won a Nobel Prize. And the basic idea was that in economics, it's if everybody acts in his or her own best interest, it leads to the most efficient outcomes. And that is mostly true. But what he showed, it's called a Nash equilibrium, is that that's not always true. You can end up in the worst situation. And you're going, well, how did that happen? And in the movie, he said, his mentor there, his advisor was saying, do you realize this flies in the face of 150 years of economic theory or something to that effect? But it's very much what's going on here with our butterflies. So
what did he say to that guy in the movie? What was the...
I think, he knew that it was, but he charged forward with it, and obviously it was worthy of a Nobel Prize.
And when Bill was telling me about this this process, I mean, it was, watch this. This is just unbelievable.
Yeah, so here's one of the examples that John, not in the movie, but that he has done outside of that to illustrate a Nash equilibrium. So let's say that we're on a beach, and we've got two ice cream vendors who set up. Now, in a perfect world, according to economic theory, they should be spread out equally apart. So let's say that it's a mile wide, whatever. We've got some kind of a width. They should be spread apart so that we have 1/3 on the left. We're going to call it red guy and green guy. Red guy over here should have 1/3 to the left. Green guy should have 1/3 to the right. And they should split the third down the middle. That would be ideal. You're going to minimize the distance that the average person has to walk. So let's take a look.
Is this the Delray Beach, or is this the Coney Island Beach, or is this the Wildwood Beach?
It kind of does look like the Delray Beach, but no, it didn't shoot that picture actually, but it does kind of look like it down here.
Okay.
So let's say that the red guy handles, let's call it zone 1 and 2, and the green guy handles zones 3 and 4. Of course, they're kind of splitting this 2 and 3 in the middle. Now, the worst position for them to be would be here, because now you're having to really increase the distance of the average. It'd be great for the people right there next to him. This would be really bad for everybody else.
For everybody else, all the people have to walk the most distance to get there.
Yeah. So here's one of the things that John Nash showed. He said, let's say that these guys set up and they recognize this might be best for the crowd, but it's not best for them. So here's what red guy's going to do. He's going to realize the next day, if he sets up his shop a little bit closer to green guy, he can encroach on that middle territory.
Ugh.
He still has all of the space to the left. Green guy's got all the space to the right, but he's starting to take up some customers from the middle. So now he does the next day, he says, hey, this is a pretty cool idea. I've got increased revenues. It's better for me. I'm going to start moving in.
What's the green guy going to do?
Good question. And what's going to happen, let's say this can only go on for so long, because eventually, if he gets right up next to him, we talk about this all the time, Stu, taking the other side of the trade. Eventually you're going to hit, let's call it an imaginary line in the sand, no pun intended. What's going to happen here? Well, the green guy's now going to say, hey, both of us are too far to the right. I'm going to set up here.
Bang.
I'm going to take the other side, and bang. Yeah. Now it backfired.
Yeah. Now the red guy, he just put himself in the hole. So now red guy is going to do what? Well, let me go back over here. And so this can go back and forth until they end up right in the center in the absolute worst spot for everybody else. This is actually what John Nash had showed why a lot of big cities will have shopping districts where your Saks and Macy's and everybody are right across the street from each other. Mm-hmm. What would be best for the people is to have them equally spread out, but they realize if they do it, this whole situation can go on. Yeah, it's really interesting. Think about gas stations. They're all in the same corner. Think about Rite Aid and CVS. They're always across the street from each other. It's phenomenal.
And this is part of what happens is that they realize if they don't, that somebody else can steal the other market share. And so they end up in the worst possible space. So anyway, I thought a little bit about this. It's very similar for butterfly spreads. There's this imaginary line in the sand where these pricing relationships can go. But once you cross over, it's going to flip. And now you're better off taking the other side. So let's hold that thought. Let's take a look at what's called a 3-strike pricing rule. We were just talking about this earlier this week in our Q&A, and people seem to like it. But for anybody who trades butterfly spreads, this is what you have to know. This is the very reason that butterfly spreads were created, because there's a violation or a near violation of this 3-strike pricing rule. It's not because you think this stock is going to sit still. It's
and keep in mind, as you're trying to put this together, people, you're looking for some sort of an edge. You're not going to do it because I want to do the butterfly. That's stupid. Where's the edge?
Right. And some people will say, I'm going to sell the at the money. That's the edge because it's got the most extrinsic value. Wrong.
Wrong.
It is not, but that's how people approach it.
Yeah.
And again, the reason that the kind of the floor traders and the professional traders came up with a butterfly is because of this 3-strike pricing relationship. And then once we show it to you, think, well, if that's the edge, then how about the other side? Right? If one guy has an edge, if one trader has an edge, then the other side, he's like the sand. He's in the hole. Yep. Right. If one guy has a 10 or 20 or 50 cent edge, then the other guy must have the negative edge. And you don't want to be that guy. Want to be that person. You definitely don't want to be that person. Yeah. So let's take a look at 3 consecutive strikes. We're going to look at the 95, the 100, and the 105. Now, side note, they don't have to be equally spaced. I made these 5 points apart. You can make them 10, 15, 20. It wouldn't matter as long as they're equal. And by equal, I'm saying the distance between 95 and 100 is the same as from 100 to 105. They're all spaced by 5 points. So what we want to explore here is what can we say about the $100 calls price, that's the center one, compared to the other two. Now, again, this is important for using butterflies, because a butterfly spread, you're going to buy the outer, what are called the wings, the 90, in this example, the 95, 105, and you're going to sell 2 of the center. Right. +1, -2, +1. Exactly. 1 to 2 to 1 ratio, but you're still long 2 contracts and you're short 2. So you don't really have a net short position anywhere. It's your long 2 and short 2. It's just that we're staggering them. Yeah. It's a net flat contract position. Yep. So if we were to put this on, let's say buy the 95, sell 2 of the hundreds and buy the 105. The center is called the body. These are called the wings. And if we did that, we would get this guy right here. We've talked about this before. We get a bend at each strike. There's the 95, bend at 100, and bend at 105. Yep. Maximum gain is right here if the stock stays in the center. Maximum losses out here in the wings. Yep, right where you sold out the money. And a little sidebar here, just for 10 seconds, a little side note. You do a butterfly, and the most money happens at exactly 100, which is what this chart is showing. Think to yourself, people, what's the real probability? What's the real chance that this XYZ stock 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, is going to actually land right at 100 to make me, the trader, the hero here, the most amount of money? That chance. It's like 0. It's like, it's not. That's why I usually tell traders, I just start thinking about exiting probably halfway up the profit. It's a trap. Let me stay in. It's a trap. It's got that massive negative gamma up here. We've talked about that. There's a lot of things that can go wrong trying to hold out for this. So even though it looks good on paper, in this case, to pay 1 to make 4, you're probably never going to get anywhere close to that. Not at least, or without even taking more, right? Even pay 50 cents to make 450. I mean, right. It's a trap. It's a trap. You got to keep going. You gotta know what you're in for, and your probabilities of making it are very, very low to get that maximum amount of dollars. But it's such a lure, it's that lottery ticket. It's very that's where they had their sights set and they're determined to hold on to the bitter end to get the $4. And it's just the amount of short gamma that you've got up here is just insane. But at any rate, this is what the risk graph looks like. And again, one of the traps is people say, oh, I get it. You put this on because I think the stock is going to stay in the center. Who cares what you think? Who cares what you think? Right. The market doesn't care. The reason for doing this is because there is a mispricing, or at least a near mispricing, enough to give you an edge. And that's what we want to discover. So for anybody who might be new, please check us out at marketrebellion.com/get started. Lots of great materials, videos, all kinds of free stuff to help you get started. So let's take a look at the 3 consecutive strikes. Got the 95, 100, 105. We have the same expiration. And let's look at 2 different traders. This is a neat way of solving the problem. Instead of saying I've got one trader who's long the 95 and 105 and is also short 2 in the center, let's pretend that trader A buys the wings, the 95, 105, and trader B buys 2 of the hundreds. So both traders are long 2 calls. So notice what's happening. Trader A is taking the wings, and trader B is buying 2 of this one in the center. So they're both long 2 calls.
Just stick with us here. We know that it's buy 1, sell 2, buy 1. Just stick.
But that's part of the way of approaching it. Let's split them apart. Let's just pretend that they're 2 different traders with 2 contracts. And that's going to help you to see the relationship. So now let's pick up a table. These are at expiration. So let's look at some stock prices. Stock price at 90, 95, and all the way up to 110. Now, here's the 95 and 105. This is trader A in green. Trader B is in red. All right, so think about what happens. If the stock is 90,
they're all out of the money. It's simple.
All out of the money. Trader A this is at expiration is 0, and B is worth 0.
Whatever they pay is boom down the toilet.
So if the stock is 95, they're all out of the money. A and B again are zeros.
One is
now watch what happens if the stock gets to 100. See, the trader A is long the 95, so he now has $5 of intrinsic. Trader B is bust, and half of trader A's trade here, the 105 strike, is bust, but he's up 5. So, or at least a $5 value at expiration. So
take a look, which is another topic that I don't think we've touched on it, or maybe we did here, but how do we know it's 5? Because it's intrinsic.
Right.
It has to be. It's a cash value. It's a moneyness. It's the right to pay 95 with the underlying asset trading at 100. At 100. Has to be $5. It has
to be $5. So now with the stock at 105, look what happens. Now we've got 10 and 0 compared to 2 times 5. Remember, B has got 2 contracts. So now we've got 10 compared to 10, and they're equal. Mm-hmm. Look what happens if the stock is 110. Now we've got 15 and 5, which is 20. Plus the red guy here in the center is 2 times 10, so they're both worth 20. But what you want to notice is right here is where the magic happens. That at some point, A beats B. Not at all points, but there is a point where A will outperform B. So we could also say that that A can never do worse than B, but can certainly do better. B might match him, but B can never do better. All right, but there are some spaces in here where A can outperform. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing it here in the table. Now let's look at it graphically. Here's the 95 long of A. Here's the 105 long. Got 0 deltas to the left, 100 deltas here in the center, 200 deltas there.
And this is the same thing as the table. Everyone.
It's the same thing we just saw on the table, right? So now let's say that the stock is 101. Trader B has 2 contracts that are each $1 in the money, so he's worth 2. But take a look. Trader A is still
195.
Is still way ahead of him. If the stock goes to 102, B is worth 4. A is still ahead. At 103, he's worth 6. This is trader B. A is still ahead. At 104, he's worth 8. He's catching up. And finally, at 105, they're both worth 10. This is exactly what we saw.
The 95s are $10 in the money. He's got 1. And the 105s are $5 in the money, the 100,
0.
5, and they're worth 5, which is times 2, which is 10, and 10 and 10, equal.
And so any point beyond this, the red bars and the black match. But you can see visually now that there are some points where the black bar, trader A, outperforms the red bars. That is the key to see. And it's because trader A owns the lowest strike call. It's going to go in the money the first. Now, keeping that in mind, and I hate to put up the math, but I'm going to try to make it easy. Let's just do some simple notation. Trader A was long the 95 and the 105. B was long 2 of the hundreds. Let's just say that the price of the 95 call plus the price of the 105, we're going to compare that to 2 times the price of the 100. That's what we were just doing. And what we just figured out is that trader A, price of the 95 plus the 105, has to be greater than and at worst equal to trader B. But he can never underperform.
Or what, Bill?
We're going to get to that. So now take a look. We've got a 2 over here. Mathematically, can't we divide the right side by 2 and also divide the left side by 2? So this gives us an interesting look. What we can say is that the average of the 95, or the wings, the average of the wings has to be greater than or equal to the 100. Okay, so the average of the outer strikes has to be greater than or equal to the center strike. This is your 3-strike pricing relationship. Now, Stu, let's go put it to the test. Let's see if it works. Bring up our pricing model. Again, here, these are from a pricing model. I would encourage you to try this on your own. But let's just pick 3. Let's take those 3. What does the rule say? The average of these is 399, has to be greater than, possibly at best, equal to, but is that greater than 343? Yes, it is. Okay, so it worked. Let's try another 3. The rule says the average of the wings, which would be 202, has to be greater than, possibly equal, but probably greater than $1.56. Is that true? Yes, it is. Let's see if we can split them. Let's look at these 3. Rule says the average of the bodies, the average of the wings is 331. Is that greater than or equal to $1.56? Yes, it is. That will always be true. And this is really what sets up the butterfly. So before we show you that, again, a little plug here. Please check us out, marketrebellion.com/get started for some really good, insightful information to help you get started with options. So
we didn't show them what if it doesn't.
Oh, we're going to look at that. So here's the 95, 100, 105 that we saw. Now, what would happen? Think back to the ice cream guys. What would happen if the amount that we received here in the center started to push that boundary? Like the ice cream guys, we started to receive too much money from the center. Well, what's going to happen is that the black curve is now going to shift up. And then we can get in a little bit closer and a little bit closer until we hit what? When they're equal, actually, if it goes above this, above 0, now you're better off taking the other side, just like the ice cream guys, and flip sides. Now it's going to be an arbitrage to the seller. So even though in a position, let's say if this blue curve were up another 25 or even 10 cents for that matter, and you bought this butterfly because you thought the stock was going to sit still, you actually just guaranteed a loss. Okay, so if I'm sorry, for the buyer, it would be an arbitrage. It would be a guaranteed gain. For the seller, would be a guaranteed loss. Right. So if you can ever shift a butterfly up here for a credit, there's no reason to not do it. And this is why it would be an arbitrage. It's because we're receiving too much for the center strikes compared to the wings. So let's go back and take a look at our chalk talk. So Stu, anything wrong with these prices?
Yeah.
What are we seeing?
Here's the way I do it, right? I mean, I'm just a dumb kid from the street who happened to fall into the stock exchange one day and had a good time. Look, 510 and 120 is 630. Right. 510, 120 is 630. And 2 of the middle ones, which is 320 times 2, which is 640. You know, I'm just going to follow the money. If I spend 630 and I take in 640, I'm pretty sure that I just picked up a dime.
Correct. You cannot lose. Or you might do better if the stock stays here in the center, but you can't do worse. It's an arbitrage.
I can't do worse. And that is free money. So what are market forces going to do? They're going to push. Well, they could do a couple of things here, but they can start by saying sold on the 320s to make them go lower.
That would be one thing.
Right. To make that relationship at least get to 0. And it would really be more because there would there would be really no reason not to do it for 0 because it's all upside and there's nothing to lose.
Risk arb. Yeah.
You know, or you could maybe push up to 95 a little bit, or you could maybe push up
take
to
the
120 a little bit, right? But it's got to somehow balance out to at least 0. Otherwise, If you think about the other side of it now guarantees to lose money.
That's right. Even though what you thought was going to happen might come to be true, you're still going to lose.
Right. You paid money to lose. Nice job. So look, you can't, it's all about these relationships, right? If this set up and the markets, look, I mean, it can happen, I guess, but it's very unlikely these days, but it might, right? And the fast markets, very might. If you see something like this, where you can go in and snatch up those 95s and 105s, and then even maybe take a leg, right? I mean, you're not really doing it to take a leg, but take a quick leg and watch the stock run up, and then, sell the hundreds a little bit and do it for a credit. You're locking in free money, literally.
That's right.
Locking in free money, right?
Yep.
You're locking in free money. And the other side of that is if you did the other side of that, you're locking in a loss.
A loss. So
and that helps you to determine how these pricing models work. What should the prices be? Right. And then you can make appropriate decisions about, whether to buy or whether to sell relative to one another in the free market.
Yep. They're based on arbitrage-free pricing. So another quick way to understand the mathematical formula that we showed, if you sold this twice for $6.40, then you would have to spend $6.40. So theoretically, even if this was $3.20 and $3.20, it would still help you to understand, right? Now everybody's paying $3.20. But we also know that the 95 call has to be more than the 100 and more than the 105. So now we go back to the average of these two has to be less than or equal to two of these. And that's the intuitiveness behind it. On average, you have to spend the amount that you're receiving.
And you can even look at this, and say, well, look, suppose I could spend $6.20, $6.40, and suppose I could sell two for $6.40 and not spend any money. Is that something I would want to do? And a lot of people might actually say, like, no, why would I do that? But in reality, I'm all over that. I got to do that because I have something to win and I have literally zero to lose. Yep. So, if somebody wants to hand me a call for free, I'm taking it. Somebody wants to hand me a put for free, I'm taking it. If somebody wants to hand me a straddle and says, hey, Stu, you don't have to pay for it. Here you go. Here's a gift. You can buy them all for zero. I'm buying them. Why not?
No reason to not take it.
No reason not to.
Yep. And so what we really wanted to show, especially for all the people out there who are fairly new and might be trading butterflies, there are pricing relationships in the markets, really for all strategies. They just become a lot more apparent, I guess might be a good word, when you start looking at some of the 2- and 3-legged strategies. And this is a really good example. Just because it looks like, I don't know, these are three prices. Let me sell this one in the middle because it's got a high implied volatility. That's all the wrong reasons. You have to look at the relationship among the three. And so we hope that helps you to, even if you didn't quite follow it, you could go back and review it. But at least it should plant the seed that you should not be trading just because you think that in this case the stock is going to sit still.
Look, you can use these in a lot of different ways. You can say maybe the stock's 90, right? You can say I'm going to try and do this. Maybe I'll pay a quarter or something small for it, and use it as a little bit of a bullish bias.
Like a bull butterfly, sure.
Yeah, you could do something like that. And that's okay.
Positive deltas at it.
Yeah, you can start spending money, but bear in mind that the prize is not, I want it to go, it's going to go to 100. That's not really the prize. The prize is it's going to go in your direction, and maybe it'll go up, and hopefully it'll go up higher than a break even, which would be if you paid a quarter, 95.25. So, you got to be able to put that all together and say, what's it worth? Is it worth a quarter? Is it worth 50 cents? Is it worth $1 to me? Basically on the idea that I'm probably going to lose some or all of it. Where's it worth? What's it worth for the money that I could really flush down the toilet? But I'm willing to take a shot on that avenue of it at free. It's free, so it's no shot at all. And at a discount under parity, underwater, under zero, it's literally free money. It's an arb. So, that's kind of how this works.
Yeah. So we hope that gives you some things to at least think about. We find that so many traders make just horrific mistakes because they say, I want to trade based on what I think. And it really has to be, obviously, there's going to be some element of what you think, I mean, at least bullish or bearish or something. But it still comes down to the price of something that you pay or receive versus the value.
Yeah, price versus value. We did one on that. Maybe we should.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, price versus value. Many times they're different.
Yeah. So if that's something foreign to you, that might be a real good place to start before you start putting more money into trading options. So we hope that gives you some things to think about. We appreciate you joining us here, and we'll look for you next Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you then.
Sure will. Thanks for
Stu.
having us. Yep. Thanks.
Thank you.